A bird just flew out your ear. So have no fear, again your ear can hear, my dear. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dr. Seuss poetry that didn't age as well as we wish it had. Today, we're going to talk about 5v5 best defensive teams, and this is... everyone watches this video and neglects the offensive teams, but if you want to watch that, it is out. It's available to watch. It's been released approximately 1 minute before this video is released, and you can find the link to it either at the end of this video or in the video description, and I do record that one first, so you get a lot of my initial thoughts in that video. Go check it out, folks. It's very helpful, I'm sure. Huge shout out to my patrons. You guys are amazing, and I just I couldn't do this without you guys. I really couldn't. Thank you so much. It really means the world to me. It truly, really does. And if you want to support this channel for free, all you gotta do is hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, comment. Let's meld the algorithm. Let's be a force for good with when it comes to the algorithm. A happy algorithm is a well-clicked algorithm. We're gonna have to work on that one. Let's get to the game, shall we, folks? Woo! Defensive teams, go defense! Yay! All right, so, gosh, there's so much to discuss here. First off, I don't have Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano, as you can see, and so I won't pretend to. But if you do have her, then you should probably put Fulcrum on there with the Fulcrum Cron, because otherwise there are forces of nefarious intent that'll probably just delete your Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano squad with like Imperial troopers. I have seen it with my own eyes, actually. I've seen videos of people doing some crazy stuff with troopers, and this team is not it's not proof from that unless you put Fulcrum on there. Of course, if you do that, then you're gonna struggle with other things. But one way or another, folks, this whole season is going to be about trying to make your opponent just run out of their good teams, and of course, putting as much pressure as possible. So we have, I think Glat just happens to be a team that you want to put on defense, because people don't have good answers to it. There are just only a handful of teams that can beat it. And it's just really strong, especially the 5v5 version. At least that's what it seems like. I don't think we've seen Glat in 5v5 yet, so we'll see. But pretty good squad if you have it. I don't have it, so we're gonna stop talking about it. So on the offensive teams video, I talked about this. The Leia team can take out the Leia, or the Glat team, right? Like, she could take out pretty much everything. She's really good. She's still really strong. And so a lot of people are going to keep her for offense. The challenge mode for this season, like if you want to just have a really stifling defense, is finding ways to make your opponents not be able to counter all your stuff. And the Leia counters are very small in quantity as well. It's going to be really tough to beat her, and so putting her on defense is going to be one way to be able to beat people. And if you have Fulcrum available and you don't have Glat, then putting Fulcrum on defense with Leia is probably going to be pretty strong for you. She'll kill things and stuff. That seems like a good team. But you're gonna have to make your decisions, folks. I talked about the offensive strategy if you were going to keep Leia or put her on defense. One way or another, she is kind of replaceable on offense, and therefore you can put her on defense. Of course, do it at your own peril, because she deletes all the things for the most part, and she's going to struggle otherwise, or you're going to struggle otherwise on offense if you don't have a pretty clearly delineated path to be able to beat some of the challenges that we're facing this season. So put her on defense at your own peril. We also have Jabba, because no one knows what the hell to do with this guy. Is he just going to get beat by troopers every time? Is that something we're okay with? I'm just not sure, folks. Jabba is... He's just gonna get deleted every time on defense, and you're not gonna know why until you look at your opponent's history, and then hopefully it'll show that they used something really strong and worthwhile. The most likely thing that happens is that you'll be disappointed with what they kill your Jabba with, but keeping him for offense, I mean, you can, I guess. Like, you kill Kenobi with him if you know how to do that. You'll be able to take out a few like low-level Galactic Legends. I think people are going to underestimate Jabba, and that's one thing that people have done a lot in the past with, like, Lord Vader. Lord Vader had one of the highest hold rates in the game, partially because people underestimated him so prolifically. They just kept using bad teams to try to kill Lord Failure, and Jabba is kind of starting to occupy that space. People start getting really casual about countering him. They're like, oh yeah, dude, nice sisters work. And they can in 3s if you know what you're doing. A lot of people don't know what they're doing. They don't have the right modding. They don't have the right setup. And in 5s, it's even worse, but a lot of people don't realize that. And so putting Jabba on defense can kind of get you a few sloppy holds from people who just don't know what they're doing, which typically I don't plan to be able to beat people who are incompetent, but because usually that just kind of takes care of itself. But it has to be said that Jabba on defense, I think, is still the better choice, frankly. And putting more, like, Jabba's still not going to be 100% counter for most things. If you can cause your opponent to trip up on Jabba, it can really cause a cascading effect of absolute and embarrassing failure for your opponent. That might happen. You should share screenshots of that in Discord if that happens. Make your guild understand your GAC dominance, folks. We have Supreme Leader Kylo for the first time on defense for a long time. I mean, every once in a while, he'll have a good datacron that makes him pretty good on defense. The big event, of course, that's going to be happening soon is we're going to be unlocking Pointy Teeth Rey. And whereas I think she should have her own faction with maybe like Batcher and Grand Inquisitor, they could have the Pointy Teeth faction. I think she's going to go pretty well with Supreme Leader Kylo on defense. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, of course, except for she doesn't have a mask to hide her pointy teeth. And I'm sorry, guys. No offense to anyone who loves pointy teeth. I think they're just fine. Sometimes. So anyways, I think this is the team you put on defense. The game uses first order first order officer really poorly, like just on an epic level poorly. So this seems like the best team on defense. I would like to see what we could do if we could get First Order Stormtrooper on here instead of Crew, so that he can go on Seer Malicos teams again, because it's been a nice crutch. But we'll have to see. I think this team is going to be really frustrating to beat on defense. I don't have a great plan. Maybe we can use Jabba to kill Kylo or something. Stay tuned for that, folks. I'll be putting out videos on how to beat these teams. And of course, for week 1, you want to keep Kylo for offense, because we won't have Pointy Teeth Rey at that point. Woo. Now, the challenge mode, the other one is, and I talked about the uses for Lord Vader on offense in my offensive teams video, but if you want to just leave him on defense, the way you get Bo-Katan to leave him alone is if you put him on a team with Traya lead. And Bo-Katan does not want any part of this fight at all. And honestly, whereas like Supreme Leader Kylo probably beats it fairly easily, it's probably also not that efficient. This team is really good on defense. I don't think there's a team out there that's going to just stomp this into the ground for really high banners, unless it's one of like the really premium squads, like probably Leia would do fine against it. But this shows some value for Lord Vader. It's just an expensive squad because it could be used as 2 squads on offense. It can do some good though. It can be a force for good. I guess does Bane beat this really hard? I think maybe that also happens, but that's also Bane beats most of the stuff that we're going to be placing. So Jedi Master Kenobi is fairly easily beat by Inquisition. That's just how it is. I'm sorry to say it. I'm sorry that it's true, but that's just the truth we're gonna have to live with. So that being said, Inquisition can't be used against everything, and yeah, I think if someone knows what they're doing with Inquisition, they'll just beat this team like a drum. But if not, no, they just will. But then there are other teams. If your opponent decided to get a little bit risky on offense, you know, if they decided they don't want multiple Leia counters, then they might need to use Inquisition on Leia, and therefore not have a great answer to Kenobi in the back zone. So yeah, this team can be pretty good on defense. On offense, it's also fine. Poor Kenobi, man. He used to be just the pinnacle of Galactic Legends, and now he's not really. He's I was gonna make a pinochle joke, folks. I apologize for even thinking that might be okay. Now, Rey with Ezra. If you don't have Glat, then throw Ezra on the Rey team, man, and put it on defense, and watch your opponents potentially struggle with Starkiller squads or Seer Malako squads, or potentially just destroy your Rey like it was nothing and make you wonder if you should keep it for offense, which is probably not the actual answer, but I can understand why you would want to do it. Now, Balin on offense or defense is going to be pretty good. You could put Dengar on this team instead of Hondo. Probably, now that I'm thinking of it, now that I'm saying it out loud, I think if you can find a way to, you can put Hondo on the Afra team and kill Jabba that way, I guess, on offense. And then you could put Dengar on defense, and because the Dengar Kron's pretty strong, you can do some good stuff. So Balin, I'm curious. I really want to see how well he beats Leia, but being really super boring in GAC is also a thing, and Balin is something people don't really know how to beat. I do think that Bane beats this pretty hard, but Bane beats a lot of things pretty hard, and there's only one Bane, so we'll have to see. This team isn't going to be super easy to beat when it's on defense. There's a few things that can beat it, but it's not the walk in the park that you probably would prefer. Let's see, the Saw team on defense. This team with Luthen, kind of quick fail Katarn, Kyle Katarn. This team can be pretty good. Obviously, I talked about this a little on the offensive teams video, but I've decided to put this on defense rather than having a really strong rebel team like with Mon Mothma to be able to kill things on offense. So yeah, this team seems like it's going to be okay on defense. Of course, it'll get beat by a few embarrassing teams, and honestly, if you're placing that weird Traya Lord Vader squad, then your opponent's probably going to say, oh, look, I randomly have Bo-Katan Mandalore available to be able to beat this Saw team. So, and I think Bo-Katan does probably roll this team up pretty good, for what it's worth. Let's see, the Gungans. People just keep using, I mean, that's another place people use Bo-Katan on, or Traya. Like this team isn't transcended anymore, and maybe we'll discover a really great use for it on offense. I'm not really sure. I think putting it on defense, there are worse teams to put on defense for sure. Let's see, the Quedme team. This is where Echo is. But I like Echo with Shock T here because she immediately hands him a bonus turn, and then he does stuff like they have really nice synergy in the context of the Queen Amidala squad. This team can be used for offense if you really want, but I do really like this team on defense as well, because once again, it soaks up a Bane counter. Like all these different teams, like Bane wants to beat Balin's Skull, Bane wants to beat the Queen Amidala team, Bane sometimes, depending on how he's facing. Like he could beat this Lord Vader team with Traya, he could beat he can beat some Leia teams. He can also beat the Galactic team. Like you only have one Bane to help you though. So if you can get people to use him on Queen Amidala, that's kind of a win in my opinion. And there's not too many other counters to Queen Amidala out there. There are a few for sure. One of them might be Great Mothers. It seems like they might do decently, but I also think that people are going to get fairly awkward about Great Mothers. And I think the key here, and I don't know if I'm unlazy enough to do this, but if you can make Morgan really fast, like get her to super speeds, like 360 speed or something. I know that not everyone can do that. Mine isn't that fast either. I don't know if I'm going to be unlazy enough to do this, but if you do that and then give them the plus 25% turn meter cron, then you're gonna have people struggling with their Sith Empire squads to be able to be fast enough to be able to beat this squad. So that's probably what I'm gonna do, is make Morgan really fast. You also want to, if you're worried about Sith Empire beating this team, you also want to mod Great Mothers and Morgan with a ton of protection so that Malak can't do a huge amount with his force drains. Just something to keep in mind. Qui-Gon team, I mean, that's the tale as old as time, right? I mean, does this team actually get holds anymore? Probably not. This is a team that I would typically, like, I'd throw it on defense if you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of what I can do on, like, I don't think I can perform on offense that well. So I'm going to keep a couple extra things, but I still need teams that are like, that could conceivably get a hold. This team is one of those that's like, okay, well, it's not going to do great, probably, but it could still, if you have them rotted right. If you have Qui-Gon, Anakin, and Ki-Adi-Mundi pretty quick, they could do all right. They could do fine. They're not world beaters, unfortunately. General Skywalker, again, this team is just it's not amazing, but I don't see a great use for it on offense. People tell me that it's got an amazing win rate against Queen Amidala, and that's just pretty much false. It's not the foolproof win that people represent it to be. It can do okay on offense, I guess, if you want to just hemorrhage banners. So have fun with that, folks. I wish you the best. If you want to put it on, keep it for offense and just delete your own efficiency. But this team on defense, like people kill it with CLS or whatever. You know, it's got the thick cron though, so Skywalker is gonna have a lot of extra health and protection is the bigger one. But is it gonna just beat all the stuff? Not probably, but it's fine on defense. It's finer than other things, in my opinion. And then we have Commander Luke here. This just the CLS squad on defense. Is that gonna beat everything? Probably not. Does like a good General Skywalker or General Grievous team beat it? Probably. It does have the thick cron though, and there are rebel crons like that you can put a riposte cron on them, and they do shoot out of turn quite a bit. And so this team can be, if your opponent isn't prepared to face this squad, which happens sometimes, and Han can do just stupid amount of damage with some of the data crons that are out there right now. This team can do okay. I'm not saying it's a world beater, but there's not like a prescribed use for it on offense right now, so you can throw it on defense without feeling too bad. And then one thing I did say in my offensive teams video, I'm probably going to be keeping this team for offense for this season, at least for part of this season, and just try to experiment with what it can do and what things it can take out. It's also a very reasonable team on defense. Just remember, your opponent can beat it with like Afra, they can beat it with Jedi Revan squads. They can beat it with a lot of different things. So at this point, it's kind of old news. Like, a lot of people know how to beat it. So it's not as scary. It's a known entity. And so keeping it for offense is fine. But putting it on defense, especially with a smoking fast resistance hero Finn, is also a fairly good thing. People always try to correct me and say that Poe shouldn't be the 5th member, but he should be. So anyways, folks, that's it for me. What teams did I miss? What do you think? Guys, thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Zareth prevails.